Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter. This is Smart Business Moves, Monday, October, what is today, 18, 19?
19.
Wow. Can you believe? Our guest today is Chris Schwab. Hello, Chris. How are you today?
Hey, guys. How's it going? Pretty good.
We're awesome. We
You
are
look so close, Chris.
Sorry?
You look so close. When
Yeah.
you
You're all,
can be in this
holding back.
room.
Cool.
Chris is going to be talking about running remote operations, and he's kind of the epitome of that. So we're gonna learn a lot about how he runs his business and some things about what's going on with COVID in other parts of the world as well. Tomorrow, Perry Tate's going to be back. Perry lives in Shanghai. This was kind of like popular demand. We had a lot of requests for part 2. He didn't quite finish his story last time, so we're going to pick up on that. Wednesday, is Heather going to be with us on Wednesday, Liz?
She is. Heather's right in the middle of moving, so she's going to take an hour break and come talk with us. So, yay. We appreciate that.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. She bought a new house like several days ago.
Yeah, it just closed. So now she's moving.
Okay. And she is subject matter expert on Indeed. She has figured out a lot of tricks, spends a lot of time talking to them. I guess that's kind of how you learn stuff, and other research as well. So that's going to be good. Yeah. Thursday is On the Spot, our rapid fire Q&A section, where Liz, myself, and our secret guest all get 1 minute each to answer your most pressing questions. Do you have any hints as to who our guest might be this week?
I don't. I totally forgot. Okay, I'll have one by the end of the show.
Do you know who it is?
I'm not telling you, Tom. If you can't take the time to look it up, then you're just gonna have to wait and find out. You're gonna have to guess with everybody else.
I've been busy, Liz. Got a lot of stuff going on.
All right, I'll let you off the hook.
Gee whiz. Chris, thank you for joining us today. So what is it? Must be around 10 o'clock your time?
Yeah, it's about 10:05.
So you live in London?
Yeah, I'm in London. So for everyone, we're five hours ahead of Eastern, 8 ahead of Pacific. So not too bad. When I'm in Tokyo, that's tough because we're 13, 14-hour difference. That's not fun. But
yeah, so 8 hours is difficult, though. You're on a completely different time. I mean, it's like a different day.
A little bit. So the first year, it was tough to adjust when I was still getting my managers in place and having them handle things. Now, though, I really like it because I have a quiet morning to myself. So I kind of work on the business tasks that I want to, and the world where my business is not awake. So I actually have this really peaceful start to the business day, and it's turned really nice.
That's awesome.
I get that. That actually does make really good sense now that you say it that way.
Yeah, I'm not an early riser. Like, I don't get up at 5 a.m., but I get the benefits of it without doing that,
Yeah. So like, where is your business located, Chris?
So we're based in the DC area, but we do Maryland and Virginia as well. It's DC plus around 20 miles outside of DC. So okay. Arlington, Alexandria.
So it is Eastern. So you are 5 hours ahead of your business.
Yeah.
Right?
So we're just closing up for the day right now over there as well.
Yeah.
Our last cleans finish in maybe 30 minutes.
What is the name of your house cleaning business?
Oh, it's Maids. So if you guys just go to thinkmaids.com, you can take a peek at our lead capture form, our booking page, whatever you want to do. But yeah, you'll find us on Google. We're pretty much everywhere in DC. So if you've ever been there, we've probably cleaned an Airbnb or something you've stayed at.
All right, while Tom is pulling that up, Chris, when we were talking about getting you on the program, you said that you were over there and you were getting married, and so that you had been busy. So today when we got on the call, I asked you if you were on your honeymoon yet, and tell everybody what you told me.
Oh dear, yeah. Okay, so I've been telling people there's a little disconnect. It's hard to explain. I've been telling people I'm getting married. Typically, that means wedding, honeymoon, right? It's a little bit different when you're getting married abroad. So my partner is Japanese, but we've been separated. She's a flight attendant, so she hasn't been able to leave the country because of safety issues with the flight attendants. They have to stay during this coronavirus pandemic only on scheduled flights, so they can't leave the country without supervision. So we were getting married originally in person at first, but this whole thing happened. We missed it by about a week. So we've been getting married over mail instead the past 6 months. And it's this endless procession of forms, translations, appointments, really expensive notarizations and apostille documents. It's possible, and I would never wish it on anyone, but we're slowly getting through it. We're about 80% done, and we should be all finished in about a month. And then I'll be flying back over there.
So when you say mail, you mean pieces of paper and ink pens and...
Okay, so to give you an example, you need 3 copies of your birth certificate. You need, I'm a dual citizen, so I need to give them my British and my American passport. I need to give them apostille stamp, which is an official stamp from the government that you have to pay a notary to get for. And then you have to send that all to a translator by snail mail in Okinawa, which is like an island in Japan. They have to witness me sign it over Skype. Then they have to send it to my partner in Tokyo, and they have to witness her sign it over Skype. And then they have to send it back to the translator, and then we have to send it to the government. And then she has to go to an appointment. So that's like one part of 6 months. That's just what we're doing right now. So it's a lot.
So you have to get up early just to tend to that paperwork before you go back to your real business of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a job in of itself.
And that's crazy. You missed your real wedding or real, I don't know, were you guys going to have a wedding, or were you just going to get married by justice of the peace or something like that?
So in the UK, when you get married, you have a government ceremony, and then you have your private ceremony as well. So we're not having the government ceremony because we're doing the marriage in Japan technically instead, even though I'm in London here. Yeah. But what we're going to do is we're going to wait until the world is a little more normal. Then we're going to have a normal wedding with all our friends and family. So we're getting the official paperwork done so I can get the visa and go and see her. But the actual wedding and the honeymoon is going to happen when things are just not so crazy.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that there are people like me out there that didn't even know this was a thing. I mean, I kind of also had stuck in my head that weddings were sort of the marriage, but obviously that's not. I mean, I knew that wasn't true. But when you said you were getting married, you know, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, he's having a wedding is what went through my mind. But not only are you not having a wedding, the marriage has been kind of a fright, kind of a nightmare there. I really had no idea that was a thing. None.
It's just what it is, though, you know. Like it's not romantic, but we can make it romantic on our own time. We're gonna have, you know, we just had our 5th anniversary as a couple, not married. So when I see her next month, we're gonna have a special kind of 5th anniversary together, even though it's a little late. So you make it work and you appreciate it more. Like, because we haven't seen each other, it just reaffirms how much we like each other. So yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, you know, it's got to work at this point because you've worked too hard to get to this. All down from here. So when does this whole process finish? When will you officially be married?
Oh, it depends on the mail. I mean, some mail gets there in 2 days. We're waiting on one piece of mail that's been in transit for 2 weeks. So a month, between 4 and 6 weeks will be fully done. I don't have a specific date just because it depends, but 4 and 6 weeks, by the end of the year, we'll be good to go.
So there is no overnight mail between London and Japan.
So yes, when I send it, there is, but the translator we used, he's a great guy, but for some reason he sent it in the slowest form of mail, and it's just taking forever. So it's not. I'm sure he had his reason because he's helped a lot of people do this, but man, it's slow.
Well, maybe it's the most secure or something, most guaranteed. Like it will get there. You just don't know when.
Yeah, I'll be 65 and it arrives, you know.
Well, you'll probably still look 20 if that helps, Chris. Well, good luck. Congratulations. Even though it's in a way premature, it's actually really late too, since you've been getting married for months now. Definitely a good story for your kids. Definitely a good story.
I'll be telling people months later I'm getting married, and they'll think it's a second time. Like, oh, you got divorced, you're getting married again?
What happened?
No,
No.
it's the first one still.
Oh, poor Chris. That was so sad. Yeah. Well, so tell us a little bit about your business, Chris, how you got started, why you decided to start your business the way you did, just give us sort of the rundown.
How'd you get in the cleaning business?
Yeah.
I don't have any cleaning experience. I didn't even know this until after I started my cleaning company, but my dad used to run his own cleaning business many years ago. I mentioned it to him when I started it, and he told me all about his cleaning business. I didn't know it was a family thing until I did it. But so it's clearly in the blood somewhere. Genetic.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. But I got into the cleaning business. I was at a stage in my life, the final semester of college. This was back in 2016 now. And I was at the stage where I was deciding between a job and a business. And I was already dating my partner at that time because we've been together a few years. And her being in Japan and me being in DC, there was just no way a job was going to work. Because she couldn't come to me because of her job. It was her dream job, and there was no way I was going to make her give up her dream job. And it just wasn't going to work if I was able to see her 2 weeks a year. And so that kind of decided that I needed to do a business where I'd have the freedom to travel and do what I want on my own time. But I didn't really know what type of business to start. And I didn't really feel any attraction to the general startup image at the time in 2016, which was Uber and Deliveroo and Uber Eats and like tech unicorns, billion-dollar companies. That's what everyone was trying to start in college. I don't know, that just didn't appeal to me at all, that size of business, that type of responsibility, grinding away your whole life for money. That's not really the way I'm built. So I started looking at more local type businesses and searching on Reddit and Google what people had done for their own types of businesses. And I found a Reddit thread, which I'm sure you've heard the story a million times, written by a local case study. And he just detailed how to start a cleaning business. And it just kind of clicked that I can give it a try for 30 or 60 days and just see what happens. I invested initially about $700 of my own money, so not a lot, but I figured it's a cool summer project. It was the summer before the final semester. And if by the end of the summer or by the end of the year, it's turned into nothing, fine, I can get a job temporarily and work out what the next move is. But I started it, and fortunately, I was better at marketing than I thought, and I was able to hire some good cleaners. There was no skill in the hiring on my part. I just got really lucky with our first few cleaning teams. They were just really good. But it turned from a side project slowly into a full business kind of over 6 to 8 months. I didn't even realize it until I graduated, and I figured that it was time for me to go back to Japan. But it just naturally transitioned from a side project into a full business.
Wow. So a lot of things have, I guess, happened between. So you graduated, and were you all in the cleaning business at that point? You were still living in DC?
Yeah. So I started in July 2016, and up until March 2017, I was in DC. In March 2017, I got it to a stage of growth where it was able to pay me a salary, and I was able to pay a manager. And so that's when I started to fully move to Japan over the course of March to April. By the end of March, beginning of April, I was fully moved over to Japan. But I did a test run for a week in November of running it remotely.
Okay.
1 week. Test run.
I make it sound experimental, but it wasn't a smart move at the time. It worked out well, but I basically, you guys familiar with Tim Ferriss, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who isn't, right? But he talks about virtual assistants a lot, and that's a very appealing idea to me. Outsourcing work is a very appealing idea. My cleaning business was still small at the time, and it still is to a certain degree. When you look at commercial cleaning businesses, they're just so much bigger than residential often. I knew I couldn't, the truth was financially, there was no way I could afford A, office space, and B, a full-time office manager to run things, paying full salary, 8 hours a day. The virtual type of model that I do in my cleaning company is that you pay people for the time that they actually spend working. So if they work 2 hours a day, you pay them 2 hours a day, right? And so I figured if I could find someone who had office experience, I could teach them to run the basics remotely. I could teach them to answer the phone and sell. I could teach them to handle my teams. And maybe we could see if this thing conceptually could even work. And so I hired 2 people who'd been office managers for a long time. And after teaching them for a few days, I booked a flight to Japan for a week. And I didn't ignore them, but I let them know I'd be very minimally involved for a week. And I just came back and my business was not on fire. And that was kind of the first signal that this is something that I could do. So that was kind of the final piece for me, that this was a possible business that would allow me to travel and have a business that was not, restrictive in that you had to be there all the time working on it 24/7. So that's kind of the backstory to Think Maids.
And so, Chris, did you say that you gave them a week's worth of training or a couple of days? Did you say
3 to 5 days?
That's what I thought you said. A couple of days,
which I would never recommend to anyone else.
Right. In some regards, though, it's kind of like jumping in the deep end of the pool. If you already knew what you wanted the answer to be, so if the early, data points suggest that this might work, you don't want to collect too much data because you might talk yourself out of it. So,
right. And I don't want to give myself too much credit and make it seem like I knew everything. This was a lot of stumbling, a lot of screwing up at every step. I can work backwards now and see how logical it was. None of this was logical at the time, like at all. So,
I completely understand that, Chris. A lot of times people look back at what other people did and they think, wow, that was so strategic. We've had people say that to us before. People are like, wow, that's so good. The way, bam, bam, bam. And we're like, yeah, how lucky was that?
We're giving us credit like we're in the middle of this very robust strategic plan and can't wait to see what the next steps are. And
we're kind of can't wait to find out what they are too.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it looks good, but man, it was stressful at the time.
I bet it was.
But looking back on it, though, it sounds like all of those were kind of like reversible decisions. If you weren't getting the result that you wanted, you could like kind of undo it and do something different. I mean, it wasn't like your airplanes were falling out of the sky or anything. I mean, it's scary at the time, but looking back on it, and I guess my point is, a lot of times we all might be better off if we just had the courage to step out there a little bit, recognizing if this doesn't work, it's not the end of the world, but if it does work, it could be awesome.
That's a very good point. That's a skill I really had to learn, actually. When you're a first-time business owner, it's so every little mistake that you make is compounded by the stress and the anxiety that comes with it, right? So it's hard to see clearly. Like I remember the first, and I'm sure everyone here does, the first time you get a 1-star review, your heart is pounding. You think your average review score is going to go down and no one's going to book with you. And you make this tiny little thing the biggest thing in the world, and it's just, right? So like every little mistake you make as a first-time business owner is just huge. Like it's not, but it feels huge to you at the time.
I'm going to have to write a resume now. I got a 1-star review.
No one's going to hire us ever again.
It does feel like that too. You're right. I mean, I think everybody can remember that first 1-star review where you really feel like, wow, I'm going to have to revamp everything. Because obviously I don't have good people. My training program sucks. Nobody knows how to clean. I don't know how to clean if this is what I'm producing. Our customer service sucks. That just people do this huge spiral of this 1-star review is what everything else in the world revolves around. So exactly. It's really hard to keep yourself out of that, especially when you're so mired in the business. I would think it would be a little bit easier though when your 1-star review is in the States and you are physically in Japan.
Oh, nowadays doesn't faze me at all. I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Because I know sometimes we genuinely do screw up and that's our fault. Most of the time it's people who went in with unrealistic expectations or there was miscommunication. Most of the time there's some reasonable explanation why there's a 1-star. So it doesn't, that level of anxiety doesn't bother me anymore because most of the time we get to fix it, you know? It's rare that people won't let you fix a mistake.
Yes, very true. So Chris, you said back in the day that was where your focus was, and you know that's just not a concern of yours anymore. Not today. That's not where you put your focus and where you put your time and energy. So where do you focus nowadays? What do you work on?
Well, I know this is a show about cleaning companies. My focus isn't so much on the cleaning company.
I love that.
So I really just enjoy, I'm one of those geeks, like automation, efficiency, systems geeks. I really enjoy that stuff. And so I like helping people implement, and we can talk about them if you want on the call, simple systems in their business that have big results. That's just something that I enjoy about business.
Yeah.
But really I'm more focused on my personal life than business now. The first few years in business was really balls to the walls, 24/7, year after year of business. But as I'm moving into this new stage in my life, I'm really, you know, we're going to be starting a family in a few years. We're bringing on some dogs. Like it's an entirely new stage of life that I want to take seriously. And so I'm really changing my focus to be more family focused and time with my partner. And so
Chris,
it revolves around hobbies and family.
Chris, it's been what, about 4 years since you got out of college?
Yeah, we're not in a rush. Kids are a few years away. But
Yeah, I know. Talking like, you know, you're semi-retired now. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
That's cool. But
yeah. I'm for reference. Sorry.
I was telling Tom that's why you're on the show.
yes, I get it. I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we could go whatever way you want. I mean, we're not limited to talk, you know, purely about, you know, cleaning companies. Anything in business, especially, you know, technology, automation. I'm sure there's crossover.
But I do want to hear, Chris, like from your perspective, from somebody who has gotten to where you are and doing it the way you're doing it, what you see as the key things that have to be in your business to, you know, as far as automations and systems and processes, those key things that make it so that you can be in, well, right now you're not in Japan, but you're going to be. So for you to be in England, right? And to be looking at moving to Japan. So what are those things?
Well, people never like the first part of the answer because it involves a lot of work on their end.
Yeah.
When I talk about this to people, I kind of think about it in kind of 4 different stages.
Okay.
You need to make yourself run efficiently first. You need to have a personal productivity system that's actually giving you personally results for yourself before you can teach that to your teams and before you can make your business run efficiently. When we have a new business, or even if we've been in 15 or 20 years, we are our businesses. Like we identify with it so strongly, we're so involved with our business that there's not a clear separation between your priorities and the business priorities. And so you have no conception of how to make your business run efficiently if you're not running efficiently yourself. And if you want, we can dive into each of these 4 parts. But basically the 4 steps are: you need some sort of personal productivity system that allows you to run efficiently.
Okay.
You need to have systems in your business that work. They don't need to be big, complicated systems. Simple systems are always preferable almost 100% of the time. Like our sales system is 3 steps. It's not 20 steps. We don't have 30 KPIs that we're tracking. We have 3 steps and 5 KPIs that we track, and that's it. So simple systems for hiring, operations, sales, marketing, and reputation management. And 3 is delegation. This is when you actually start delegating the systems and the processes that you've built up to people for the non-automated parts. I'm a firm believer in automating the right amount and not as much as you can. And what I mean is, if you ever call your bank and you can't get a hold of a person because it's an automated voice machine, it makes you really angry and it annoys you because you can't talk to someone, right? They've over automated it because it's convenient for them, but it's inconvenient for the customer.
Right.
So there's a balance of automation. I hear a lot of people talk about automation now. It's like a magic word. There's a balance there and no one really talks about how to achieve that. And so human relationship, especially in a cleaning company where it's face-to-face, you're in their home, the most private place in that person's life. You need to have that communication. You need to have that relationship there. It can't all be automated. So systems is number 2, delegation is number 3. And number 4, after you've done those 3, you're already 80% of the way to going remote. 4 is specific strategies for actually going to run your business remotely. That involves things mainly around independence and meetings with your team. So there's a couple different strategies I teach people. One of them is from Tim Ferriss, about how to actually get your team feeling like they can make decisions in your place. Because a lot of times what we find is owners want to become absentee owners, but their managers will then go to them for every little mistake because they're really afraid when the owner's not physically present anymore. Even if they can do everything and they've done everything well, without the owner's presence there, it can feel jarring to your team at first. And so if you don't give them that independence and trust slowly over time, and you just go remote one day, it's not going to go well. And this is where a lot of people crash and burn. And so there's specific strategies once you have the foundation built that let you go remote.
Well, it does sound like you've done a little bit of teaching on this subject, Chris.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like this is the first time you've had this conversation.
I am a talker.
This is good because I mean it's logical, you know. It's not something that you're making up. I can close my eyes and see this working. This is very useful.
Well, walk us through. Let's dig into your 4 steps here. So when you're talking about personal productivity, Chris, and you say this is the part that people hate right out of the gate, why is that? What are they hating? Do they have to start exercising, or what does it mean?
Modify your diet. I mean, what's involved here?
I'm just going to grab some water real quick.
Yeah. So that's a hint. We all have to drink water.
Lots of water.
Oh, hydration. Yes. Sure. So in terms of personal productivity, I'm not advocating something like Getting Things Done, which is a famous book by David Allen. He's kind of a productivity guru.
Yeah.
Those types of systems are great, but there is actually way too much to them. There's so many steps involved, again, in these types of even personal systems that people like reading about them, but the actual implementation of them is very poor. And so anytime, minimalist is kind of an overused word these days, but anytime you can have a minimalist system or routine that you can follow, you'll actually follow it way better. And so what I mean to answer your question about personal productivity is a way for you to get focus on the most important tasks that you always have, to know what they are, to have clarity on them, and have a system in place for getting them done consistently. And that means having a different place for doing your smaller tasks. So yeah, I'll just take it from the top and it'll hopefully make sense.
Yeah.
So when I talk about personal productivity to people, the first step they have to understand is crucial time management principles. And so have you heard of the 80-20 rule?
Yeah.
Pareto.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, 80-20 rule and Parkinson's law. So for viewers, the 80-20 rule, I feel like this one's been covered to death, but I'm going to be another person that covers it. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. So you always, in personal productivity, you always want to be prioritizing and know what that 20% is that you want to focus on to get the majority of your results. You don't want to do the other 80% of stuff. Parkinson's law is the second time management principle that I talk about. And this is work takes as long as the time you have available for it. And essentially what this is saying is you need to schedule deadlines, because if you don't, a simple project might take 6 months to do when it should take a week. And we've all had that happen. And the last thing is essentialism. It's this concept of always focusing on what's important. And this is kind of the concept of, you're going to hear this name a lot from me, Tim Ferriss. I really do love him. This is the last time I'll mention him though. He has this concept he talks about where he's quoting someone else. Are you chasing field mice or are you chasing buffalo, right? So are you chasing the tiny little tasks that you need to do, or are you chasing the really big buffalo that if you take down, everything else is good? And so these are kind of the 3 time principles that I talk about before showing people a productivity system. With that said, with those 3 in mind, the big question is how do you actually put that into practice? How do you actually not just talk about the concepts, but in your daily life, reflect those concepts. And so something that I teach my students and something that I teach my VA clients when they come on with us is a way to work effectively with themselves and with their team. And it revolves around kind of a 3-part productivity system. It doesn't have a name. It's just kind of a random thing that's worked for me. So I don't have a name for it, but it revolves around a way of prioritizing your tasks, a way of batching them so the small things get done together and don't take up your day, and a simple to-do list that you can use so you always know what the next thing is. And so, by the way, feel free to interrupt if I'm talking too much.
No, you're great.
So this first step in personal productivity is actually getting clear on all of your tasks. And the way that I talk about this to people is using a simple system called the ABCDE system. Essentially what this is you're taking all of your tasks and writing them down on a piece of paper and then signing a letter grade of importance to them corresponding to their level of importance. And so an A task, for example, is a crucial task that absolutely must be done. That's it. A B task is an important task. A C task is a less important task, all the way down to E, which is like, it'd be nice if you did it someday, but if you don't get it done, it's fine, right? So you need to have a very clear priority level for every single task that you have. And once you have that, then you can focus your day around those A and B tasks, and you can batch your C, D, and E tasks together in 2 or 3 groups throughout the day. And so, for example, in my cleaning company in Think Maids, we have 2 batch periods throughout the day, 9 and 10 a.m. and 4 and 5 p.m. 9 and 10 a.m. is when we're making sure our teams are on the way to their first booking. We're following up with people from the night before. We're scheduling our teams for any bookings that came in from the night before for later that day, and other little tasks like that. Our 4 to 5 p.m. is signing off final emails. It's handling customer complaints. It's charging cards. It's sending out schedules, right? So there's basic tasks that have to be done. But if you're always doing these little tasks throughout the day, it makes your day seem way busier than it actually needs to be, and it makes you less productive. So we take all those little tasks and we batch them into certain periods throughout the day, and we set a firm boundary around that where we don't touch them until that batch period. So that's kind of the basic framework, is this ABCDE method of prioritization and the batching. And the final component of that is the 3-part to-do list. And this is just a really simple to-do list that I think everyone should have, which is split into 3 sections. It's do, batch, and watch. Do are the big A and B tasks that you need to do this day or this week. Batch are all the small tasks that you need to do throughout your batch periods that you've assigned. And watch are the next tasks on your list that at the end of the week, you'll move up to your do. So it's just a real simple 3-part to-do list that isn't overwhelming, and it's just split into the big tasks and the little tasks.
Bit about automations. Do you use digital tools to do this? You do it on a notepad? How do you organize? What tools do you use to manage this process?
It depends on the system. So there are certain areas of our business we prefer a process that a human does, and certain systems in our business that we have a system do, right? A piece of software.
Where's your priority list, your A, B, C, D, E, and the batching of the C, D, and E, that part? Is that just a list you carry around on a pad, or are there some other digital tools you use to?
Sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, so we use a program called ClickUp, which is just a really great program. They actually have a cleaning business template that you can apply if you sign up for it. And they'll populate. It's a to-do list software, a project management software. But if you have a cleaning business, they have a whole template where you can set it up in 2 minutes, and you can run your cleaning business from it. I don't. I only use it for project management and to-do lists. But I know people who do run their cleaning business out of it, and it works fairly well. So ClickUp, it's free, or it's $5 a month if it's premium. It's very versatile. It lets you do everything that I just mentioned. And it's very easy to set up. So ClickUp for to-do lists. If you want something even simpler, there's one called TickTick, which is TIC. They're a really great, super simple to-do list. It's fairly minimalist, and it takes like 1 minute to set up. So those are two options I recommend for people.
Okay.
I've never even heard of TickTick. So
Yeah, it's not as popular, but it is good.
we are just doing getting ClickUp started. We started on Saturday, actually, just started. And I'm glad that you said it's really easy to set up, because right now it's really freaking overwhelming. There is a lot to that program. So I'm glad you said it's easy to set up, but all right, maybe when.
You guys are a little bigger though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a big program, so I'm looking forward to it. It looks really, it looks like a great program, and I haven't heard any bad things about it yet, not even one. So, really having you add your endorsement is like, okay, I'm happy. I'm moving forward again.
Would things like Trello and Asana kind of be in that same neighborhood as ClickUp in terms of functionality?
If 5 years ago, yes, I feel that they're basically okay for tasks, but running your whole business out of them, I feel ClickUp is just so ahead of the game. It's just not a close comparison.
It's kind of jumped ahead, and it's where if you're looking at Trello or Asana, don't just go to ClickUp and save yourself the trouble.
Well, the key for me is it's all integrated in the ClickUp platform. So Trello and Asana, you can have Zapier Zaps and integrate everything together, but it's all loosely integrated. Some automations can break, or you have to pay for a bunch of different tools. And the initial setup to make a bunch of different tools talk to each other is really frustrating and complicated. ClickUp, you can set automations inside the ClickUp platform without any external integrations with other tools. So this is hugely beneficial to someone who only wants to use one tool, and I like to use as few as I possibly can. ClickUp is the way to go if you just want to keep it more simple. I understand you're having some trouble with the initial setup, so if you want, we can talk after. Maybe I can try and help troubleshoot.
Well, we only just started on Saturday, Chris. So literally it's been like 48 hours. So it's not that I'm having trouble yet. It's just a matter of, well, okay, this is a really big program.
Yeah.
This program does a lot of stuff. So I'm not overwhelmed yet. I'm just feeling like, I was actually really encouraged when I saw it, but I also had only given myself like 2 days to get everything up and running on ClickUp. And I was like, we might need a little bit more time.
You're thinking it's possible that you may have trouble, or at least it's a possibility.
No, after listening to Chris, I feel totally
easy. So
thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. You're making me feel confident. All right. So I love this idea. I love the way that you set up the personal productivity as the first step. That's something that we teach as well. That if you don't get yourself under control, you're going to just continue to have the same problems over and over and over again. So I love that as well.
Is there a way I can write a comment? So I see the comments, but I can't seem to be able to write a comment.
You only can do it if you grab your phone.
Is this the Facebook thread comments that are showing up here?
Yes.
That's why.
Yeah.
If you could one of you tag me in the thread? I don't see
Sure, I will.
What I'll do is I'll message you. What I just want to do, just so people don't forget what we just talked about, I'm just typing down a little homework for them for the personal productivity.
We have a resource page, Chris. If there's anything that you would share with us, a backlink code, a website or a PDF or whatever, we can upload it.
Contact you.
Oh, I don't have one, but I just sent it to you guys in a private message. Just typed up a little notes, just because I know we're covering a lot. But yeah, that's the first of the 4.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And number two is business systems.
Simple systems. 3 steps, 5 KPIs.
Yep.
How do you live with 5 KPIs? Help me with that.
I totally get it, but Tom cannot even comprehend the idea of 5 KPIs. I know he can't.
So I think this is a philosophical difference. I talk about it with a lot of people. A lot of people come to me wanting to grow a really big maid business. That's cool. But my philosophy on business is not maximizing dollars and growing into like a $20 million cleaning business or whatever. It's a lifestyle freedom-based business. I want to build this business to run efficiently, to run itself, and to be an absentee owner. That's the ultimate goal for me, and what I teach to people is to have that freedom to then do what you want. Growth is great, and eventually when you get to a certain stage of growth, you can be an absentee owner anyway, because you can hire a CEO to come in and run things for you, and that's great. Most people will never reach that stage, but most people can reach the stage where they can have an efficient business to run itself for the most part. And so that's what I want to teach people, is to have that freedom with their business. And that's why I have less KPIs. That's why I have simple basic systems that they cover the essentials, and they're helping us grow, but they're not necessarily maximizing everything. Because if you want to optimize and maximize something, you have to double or triple the amount of work you put into it at first. And that just philosophically doesn't agree with me. So that's just maybe just a difference.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. All right. I am also tagging you in our thread. I don't think Tom got you tagged. I'll get you tagged in here. Okay. So, sticking with your philosophy, which I love, that's what we wanted you to bring here today. That's awesome, Chris. Talk us through number 2.
Sure. So number 2 is implementing a simple system for core areas of your business. And so I define core areas of your business as operations. That's the daily admin tasks. That's the behind the scenes work, right? Team management, hiring. Those two kind of go together, but I separate them personally. Sales, marketing, and client retention. I do have a basic one for reputation management. I personally consider that essential, but a lot of people maybe not as essential as the others. For me, most of our growth comes organically, so our reputation is crucial for our growth. Some people can invest thousands in AdWords and it doesn't matter as much. But operations, sales, marketing, client retention, hiring, teams, those are the core systems that you need. So let me give you an example.
Okay.
Our sales process, I kind of, I guess, informally call it the client attraction system. It's got kind of a couple different parts to it. Basically, when a lead comes in, they come in through our lead capture form on our website. There's a couple different places they come in, but most part they come in on our lead capture form on our website, which you guys can just check out on thinkmaids.com. That's just the basic lead capture form on the website. We then add them. Oh, perfect. You got it up. That thing is so nifty. We've got in a year and a half of using that, we have over 4,000 leads who've submitted their email addresses. So, which is a lot of leads.
A lot.
I can tell you the exact number now. That was a few months ago. It just keeps growing. Let's see. 4,305 leads.
Over what period of time?
About a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And we have about a 4% conversion rate, which is pretty high for a website. Most websites are like 1 to 3%. So we're pretty happy with that conversion rate. So basically, leads come into our lead capture form. Okay. Once they're in our lead capture form, we have a separate system we connect to that called LionDesk. It doesn't have to be LionDesk. There are a million programs that you can use, but we use LionDesk because of the versatility it gives me with our messaging sequence. And so when people become a lead, we have 2 different follow-up sequences depending on where they are in the customer journey that we automatically send them to. And LionDesk has one that we've designed for leads who've never booked yet and leads who have booked one time with us. We consider them a hot lead, someone who's we've cleaned for one time, and there's a high chance of them becoming a regular customer, maybe not immediately, maybe 3 or 6 months down the line. If the deal is good enough, they'll come back, right? So we have kind of 2 separate follow-up funnels for never customers and one-time customers. And what this is, it's a basic, what's called a soap opera sequence. It's a basic sequence of emails and texts. Text automation, I found, converts way better and is way more responsive than email. Email response rate is something like 2 to 10%, depending on how good you are. Text has a 98% response rate on average, which is just unbelievable. It's just on a different level, right? And I'm not talking about those spammy book now texts. I'm talking about natural texts that another person would send, like, hey, I really appreciated that you came and booked a clean with us last week. As a thanks, I've designed a personalized discount code for you and your family. If you want to use this in the next few weeks, just let me know. Like a really natural text. That's what we send them. So we send to leads and to one-time customers a combination of email and texts over a 14-day period, and then one touches base 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and a year later. So basically seasonally. And at that point, they drop off after a year or they unsubscribe. Most people unsubscribe by 6 months. It's just what it is. But people do fairly frequently book from that. So that's the second part of the sales process. The other part is the human part. So I really don't think sales should be fully automated. It's such a human thing. And so you have to have a person involved at some point in the sales process. And we do the same thing with LionDesk, but with a person. So every lead, whether they booked one time or never with us, receiving those emails and texts, they also receive a phone call from my office manager for feedback on that cleaning and to push them to become a regular customer. And we have a follow-up sheet that follows the same pattern as our lead follow-up system. So we follow up them by phone call the first time. If we get voicemail, we follow up with them at the end of that day. And we have a whole sequence of how many times we follow up with them. Which I know it sounds annoying. If you answer your phone, it's annoying. If you're like most people and you don't answer your phone, it takes 3 or 4 tries to get you. So it's not too bad. But that's kind of an example of a simple system is lead comes in, you send them a basic sequence by email and text, and you have a person call them for feedback. That's really it.
Now your simple sequence that's going out by email and text, even though your texts sound very personalized, are they, they're still automated though, right?
Correct.
Okay, but they're just automated in a more natural style.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, all right, that makes great sense to me.
So
I know about texting is just so much more, people are so much more responsive to text.
So this is actually a good little thing we've been testing out a lot that you guys can try. This is maybe the past year or so not that new, but it's been working well. What we've also done is we've added an upsell stage via text. And so whenever someone has their first booking with us, the morning of their booking, we will text them and say, hey, I just noticed you have a deep clean, but you did not include the inside windows. Would you like us to clean your inside windows for $40 extra? So we actually upsell people via text, depending on what they booked for that cleaning. And that the amount of extra money we've gotten from that simple upsell text, the morning of the appointment, is huge. Like our average booking price went up maybe $30.
Yeah, because in their mind, all they're spending now is $30.
Exactly.
The amount of the cleaning is inconsequential at that point. So it's like, oh, $30 to get my windows done? Absolutely, sign me up all day long.
Precisely, because if you try and upsell them on the initial call and it ends up being a $400 cleaning, they're just going to say no to the whole cleaning and walk away. If you do it in stages, they get their house clean because it's something that they genuinely want. When they're on the initial phone call and they hear the price tag, they're not thinking of the clean place anymore. They're thinking of the price tag, but they really do want those areas cleaned. Yeah. So when you approach them separately about it, it's actually a more objective decision for them as well, because they're not what am I trying to say? They're not distracted by the price. They're more focused on the result of their clean home.
Yeah, it makes
perfect. Already spent the $360, so it's really for an extra $40. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody feels like, well, of course, anybody that is paying $400 to have their house clean, $40 sounds like pocket change. It's like, oh, $40, absolutely, that's cheap. So the only money I feel like I'm really spending is $40, and I'm getting my house clean, my whole house, including the windows, for $40. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'll be doing that. That's right there on my list. So, great. Okay. One thing that you were talking about, oh gosh, we are still going to run out of time today. I knew this was going to happen with you, Chris.
Sorry.
It's not your fault. It's just, I knew you were going to have a lot of great information.
This is good, actually. Much preferable to being a half hour in. It's like, okay, what you want to talk about now? Not that usually happens, but no, this is excellent.
No, yeah, this is excellent. So one of the things that you're talking about, Chris, you've stated it plainly. You've been clear about it. You've alluded to it as well. That you've talked a lot about simplicity and simple systems and keeping things plain, clean, easy, simple. And so when you're talking about systems, like you just said, you got the way of doing it, the two little things, and you have one more little piece on here. How do you keep your system simple? One of the things that I fight with people about with our students is they're constantly adding more and more and more complexity. It's easy to see it in other people, and it's easy to stop it. I have the same problem, right? I'll do the same thing myself. In my business, I'm like, I want more, do this, make it bigger, and your own things. It's easy to see in other people and to stop it, but how do you stop it yourself?
That's a really good question. I think there's a couple ways. The first is, if it broke, would you be able to fix it easily? Because if you spend a ton of time initially setting something up and then something breaks, if you're screwed, your system is too complicated.
Okay.
You need to understand each part of your business. You really do. You don't have to do it, but you need to understand it. And so the first part is, if it breaks, if you can fix it, it's probably simple enough. I'd say the other thing is it a pleasure to have a system, or is it actually taking away? So what I mean is, I'm trying to think of a good example, because we play with systems a lot and we've had a lot of bad ones. I'm trying to think of a bad example of one of the bad ones we've had. Okay, I'll table that one for a minute. Nothing's immediately coming to mind. But when you use a system, there's going to be some point of human contact. And the person who, whether it's at the beginning where they're inputting it into the system, like inputting the contact into the automation, or at the end where they're calling a person, at some end of that system, there's going to be some human contact, right? And so the person doing that, is it easy for them to do it? Or are they getting confused and you have to keep showing them how to do it again and again? Or are they frustrating? Or is it frustrating? Or the biggest one is them not using it frequently. So for us, for example, when I was playing with this automated hiring system that I've been set up, where we've got the job ad that automatically goes out to job boards, people apply, they sign the paperwork. We automated a lot of it, but we found at first that my office manager, who's really good at being consistent, was being inconsistent with this. And I figured he was burned out or something, and he would get it done. And so I reminded him a few times, but there kept being this lapse in this one area. And so I talked to him about it, and I'd assumed it was simple because I set it up. But from his perspective, there was a couple really frustrating aspects about it that made it hard for him to consistently do that thing, right? And it's easy for us to say that's their job, they should do it. But it's our job to make their job easy, right? And I wasn't making his job easy. I was making my job easy. And so one of the ways that you can tell is not just if you can break, if you can fix it, but also if the person who's actually using the system is doing it consistently.
Right.
If they're doing their other tasks consistently, but not that one, that's a signal something's wrong. Okay,
I love that. That's great. And I think that's really easy to follow. That if the key piece is, if they're typically doing things consistently, but this one thing is out of whack, then it's probably something wrong with the system. That falls in with the same as anything else that we're working with people, right? If we're teaching them something, they're catching it, but then this other thing people just keep not getting over and over again. You keep having employees thinking that you're supposed to only squeegee the bottom half of a mirror. Something's wrong with your training, regardless of something about what you're saying is wrong.
That's what I'm thinking. Does it I guess it could be a bad system, or maybe it's a good system poorly implemented. Would you start with like training to see if you could get a more consistent level of performance before jumping to the conclusion that the system isn't simple enough?
Sure. So these are just indicators. They're not they're not necessarily cause and effect, but they're indicators that something is wrong. And then you can look more closely, whether that's your implementation or the person or whatever. It's just kind of a signal to look a little bit more deeply. So
And it's not operator related if they prove to be consistent in other processes. It's like an outlier. So there's got to be something wrong with the process of the implementation.
Because we know the person's so good. The person themselves is good.
well, it's like sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you mentioned like cleaning the bottom half of mirror. That's so true. Like some people have like 500-point cleaning checklists that they try and teach their cleaning technicians when they bring them on.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they can't retain teams or their teams do poorly. You gave them 1,000 things to remember. Come on. It's not the teams.
That's too many. If none of the people are good enough, you got to understand that's
If they are capable of remembering that, they'd probably be doing something other than working for you.
Yeah. And they will be soon.
Yeah.
So Chris, another thing real quick, because we are running out of time. We've only got 3 minutes here. You mentioned about your students and some of the people that you teach. How does that work? Who do you teach through, or how do people contact you? What if they're interested in talking to you more? How would they reach out to you?
Sure. And if you guys want, we could always do a part 2 where I go over the other 2 steps.
Yes, we want that, Chris. Yes. So yes. That's
good.
Good.
Right now.
You're good. We'll talk about that here in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
There's 2 ways. I don't advertise it, so you never see this mentioned in the group. But I have something called the Local Business MBA program, which it's literally just localbusinessmba.com. This is a program that basically takes you through redesigning the foundation of your business. I see a lot of business owners who they have a fire in their belly. They're hard workers. They want their businesses to work, but they've been stuck for months or years, or in some cases, I'm sorry to say, decades. They've been in the same place turning their wheels for a very long time. And it's usually because they're really good at one or 2 things. They may be a really good salesperson. They may be a really good cleaner, but they're really bad on the tech side of things, or they're really bad on the marketing. And we get stuck when we're only focusing on our strengths. And so I'm a big believer in shoring up weaknesses. I'm a big believer philosophically in the weakest link idea. And so the Local Business MBA program is primarily about rebuilding the foundation of your business and putting in those simple systems that you and I are talking about here. Yeah. So that you can actually grow them. You need to actually get out of your own way. And by rebuilding the foundation, by putting in these systems, by learning to delegate, by the end of that program, you can go remote if you want, but you're also in a good stage to grow because you're not holding yourself back anymore. So rather than being like a growth program where I teach you a cool Facebook ad strategy, it's all about the fundamental backbone of your business and making that strong. So that's really what it's about. That's number 1. The other way people contact me generally is innovalocal.com. That's my VA company. I just answer questions anyway. So even if you have 0 desire to get a VA, I'm always happy to help over email or Facebook message. So
Chris,
you guys,
what's the URL to the VA company?
It's INOVA, then the word local.com. So there's a consultation call. You can always talk to me or my team. We really are not salespeople. So if you want a VA, cool. If you just want some advice, that's cool. Like, I'm happy to help you get unstuck. That's fine.
Nice. All right. Well, we definitely got to figure out what day you're going to be here. I'm already pulling up my calendar over here, Chris. So get you.
We are at the top of the hour, so we will have to call it a day. But Chris will be back here in a few weeks, and we'll do part 2. And it's going to be awesome because there's a lot of good stuff here we just didn't get to yet, which is a good thing. If you haven't subscribed to Cleaning Business Today, really easy. Email, first name, last name. I'll take the link to our resource page. If there's any material, Chris, that you would like for us to put in our resource page or anything on your website that you'd like a backlink or anything, we could add it to our resource page here.
Sure. Should I tell you after, or did you mean now?
No, after.
Okay, cool.
So tomorrow we're going to be back and we're going to be talking to Perry Tate, assuming that the internet and everything between here and China lines up and works well for us. Anything else we need to cover, Liz?
Nope, I don't think so. Thanks for bringing me back.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, you don't want to know. It's a Liz thing. Chris,
this was awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Very good, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Maybe the next time you're back, you'll have the latest breaking developments with your marriage in process.
Hopefully I can say it's done, it's over, we're good to go.
Looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys back here tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern with Perry Tate. Y'all have a good day. Bye-bye.
Sounds good.